Today I'm going to show you how to make a sushi pizza. First thing you gotta do is make your sushi rice. So in a non-metallic bowl, take your cooked sushi rice and then mix in your sushi rice seasoning. I'll put a sushi rice seasoning in the description, but I know for a fact that they sell pre-made stuff at the stores. I know this because that's what I used. After you season your rice, it should start being sticky and malleable. So wet your hands with some water so it doesn't stick to your hands, and then mold the rice into a ball and then finally into a disc shape. Do this over a silicone mat or some parchment paper so that the next step will be easier. Now after your rice is in a nice crust shape, flip it over onto some wax paper and then folding the wax paper so that it forms a decent seal around the crust. This makes it easy to store in the freezer and also protects the rice from absorbing any smells that might be lingering in your freezer. The reason why we need to freeze the rice overnight is so that it helps retain the shape of the crust when it's time to cook it. Also, because making the crust is the most tedious step, it's nice to do a whole bunch of these at once and then store them in like a freezer safe Ziploc or something so that you can just do this whenever you want. An optional step would be to stab your sternum with the pointy end of a frying pan, but I personally wouldn't recommend it. My fish of choice for this kind of thing is always salmon. It's really mild, pretty universally liked, and easy to get, and if you get the whole fillets like I do, it comes with the skin, which you can take off of the meat and then deep fry it and use it as a topping in your sushi. Deep fried salmon skin is absolutely delicious. In America, there's really no such thing as quote-unquote sushi grade. When someone who's selling you fish tells you that it's sushi grade, generally it just means that something's been done to the fish to make sure that it's free of parasites. Cut your salmon skin into strips and then toss it in the oil at 350 degrees. It is going to splatter, so have a lid ready, making sure it's a loose-fitting lid so that air can still circulate around the oil. Once the salmon skin is golden brown, put it onto a tray and then season with some salt and then let it dry so it gets nice and crispy. Slice your salmon thin into little bite-sized pieces and then set aside. And then assemble your spicy mayo dressing, which is like a 2-to-1 ratio of mayonnaise and sriracha. You can make it 1-to-1 if you want it spicier, and just a drop of rice wine vinegar. Now here's probably the trickiest part of the whole thing, which is cooking the crust. Your pan should have a nice coating of oil on it, but not too much. Flipping the crust is actually really essential because doing with a spatula will make it fall apart. Once it's golden brown fried on both sides, you can set it aside for it to cool, and that's when it will harden and keep its shape. I totally burned it on one side, but it's fine. This is fine, everything's fine. Take a brush and then add a layer of your spicy mayo and then top that off with the salmon. I like to put some scallions, a little bit of salmon roe, a little bit of ponzu on top of everything, and then of course the salmon skin. I'm pretty sure this style of sushi pizza was actually invented in Toronto in the 90s. And if you told me this was a riff off of the spicy tuna on crispy rice that was also really popular during that time, I would totally believe it. I'm personally really happy to see that crispy tuna rice is starting to be really popular again, but I personally think that this is a better version of that. It's crunchier, but still soft in the middle, and it's got a better ratio of fish to rice. This can also really easily be made vegan. Just use vegan mayo, and then replace all the fish for stuff like avocado and cucumber. I've actually made this dish for the internet before. I think this was one of 2 things I ever became Tumblr famous for. I'm gonna try to be better about posting longer videos with recipes, so like and subscribe, you know the drill. And also, I don't think I told you guys Happy New Year yet, so Happy New Year.